Stay tuned for the GSN Digest. Welcome to the GSN Digest, a short program of various features. The show starts now.
Here comes episode 4. They're new, but the Vegas Golden Knights are sure making some noise. Speaking Sports has some thoughts about that. Sputnik, the USSR's first satellite, is 60 years old this month. We'll say something about that on Exploring Space. Alexander the Great is the focus on pieces of history, and notations will tell a tale of two Joes, but there's a man overboard on the Newswatch.
This is the Newswatch.
A West Kelowna man is recovering and lucky to be alive after his cabin cruiser boat crashed into a cliff and he was thrown from the craft into Okanagan Lake. Police say the 35-year-old man fell off the boat late Sunday afternoon, but the boat kept going. He was wearing a personal flotation device which even in the cold waters assisted him in being able to safely swim to the shore, said RCMP Corporal Jesse O'Donoghue in a news release. Once he reached the shores of Okanagan Lake, he was able to call 911 for assistance using his cellular device which he reportedly kept in a watertight case in his pocket. The man was taken to hospital and treated for mild hypothermia. The boat, on the other hand, sustained massive damage. This is Speaking Sports, a weekly sports feature. When you the new kid on the block and your team is out of the gate at 4-0, things look good. That's what's happening to the Vegas Golden Knights, the NHL's newest team. Their win over the Boston Bruins on Sunday made them the first expansion team and third in league history to win 4 of their 5 games, joining the likes of the 77-78 Montreal Canadiens and the 1926-27 New York Rangers. Vadim Shipachyov and Alex Tuch both scored their first NHL goals in the Knights' 3-1 win over the Bruins. The Knights not be all that bad as a team and might just make the playoffs in their first season. The St. Louis Blues made the playoffs in their first 3 seasons in the league and made the final in their first 3 seasons, losing to Montreal in 1968 and again in 1969 and Boston in 1970. If the Vegas Golden Knights keep going as they are, they should be fun to watch.
This is the GSN Digest, a short program of various features.
The Vegas Golden are sure making some friends right away, aren't they? Well, the season is young and only time will tell how good they'll be. Sputnik just turned 60 years old, let's check that out. On October 12, 1957, Sputnik became the first craft to go into orbit. Just recently, that journey, which took around 90 minutes, celebrated the 60th anniversary of the launch and mission. There were 3 Sputnik missions, Sputnik 1 in 1957, Sputnik 2 in late 1957 with a dog on board, and Sputnik 3 in April 1958, but Sputnik 3 was unsuccessful and was dubbed a failure. Sputnik 1 was the satellite that was the beginning of what we know as the space race. For many years, governments took charge of space agencies and groups like NASA dominate space exploration and travel, but in recent years, commercial space flight and exploration companies have sprung up, promising flights around Earth, the Moon, and even Mars. Although commercial space flight is in its infancy, Sputnik paved the way for future space exploration. This is Pieces of History, looking back at the past. Ancient Greece is full of interesting figures. One such person was one of Greece's leaders. Alexander the Great was born on July 21, 356 BC. Before Christ, was for a time king of the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon. He was considered to be one of the most successful military commanders of his rime and ruled over one of the largest empires in the ancient world. After his father Philip II was assassinated, he inherited a large and experienced army. He became a Greek general and began a campaign of conquests. It started with conquest of the Achaemenid, Persian Empire. That battle raged on for 10 years. He then took on a series of conquests which led to the overthrow of the Persian Empire. At that point the Greek Empire stretched from the Adriatic Sea to the Indus River. Alexander the Great invaded India in 326 BC. His army won some important battles along the way, but he was forced to turn back because of demands of some of his troops who were sick. He died in Babylon in 323 BC at 32. Throughout his military career he was undefeated. Following his death, a series of civil wars tore apart his empire, but many cities were founded, such as Alexandria in Egypt. He remains one of the most influential figures in Greek culture, and some of the tactics used by his army are still taught to his day. To say his legacy is long is an understatement. Some of Greek culture and languages existed into the 1920s. Achilles, another figure in the Trojan War, was killed by an arrow in his heel, hence an Achilles heel derives from that ancient figure. Alexander the Great remains one of the most influential figures in history.
Listening to the GSN Digest, a short program of various features. The show continues.
Alexander the Great sure did made his mark on history. Mike has some thoughts on two guys with the same name on this week's installment of Notations. Dig this.
This is Notations, a music feature.
I was just reading stuff online and came across an item with the headline Chris Evans slams Joe Walsh for ripping Jimmy Kimmel's healthcare plan. This has nothing to do with the rock star, it has more to do with Illinois Republican Congressman Joe Walsh and Chris Evans, a reporter for the Huffington Post, writing about a man named Jimmy Kimmel and his plight over paying for his son's heart surgery. No parent should ever have to decide if they can afford to save their child's life, Kimmel said. It just shouldn't happen, not here. The article went on to state that the Republican congressman was not amused. Sorry Jimmy Kimmel, your sad story doesn't obligate me or anybody else to pay for somebody else's health care. It seems that the Republican from Illinois was blasted for his tweet. The reporter tweeted his response. It's fair to have opposing views on health care, but our humanity should guide us when, where, and how to engage. This is beyond misplaced, Joe. Meanwhile, I was just researching an article and found an article with the name Joe Walsh and thought it might be something about the rock star. Fortunately, the rocker isn't smashing hotel rooms or driving his car at 185 miles an hour. What the heck, it was a fun piece to write.
Group of dashes, tune in next time for another edition of Notations.
I just wonder what the congressman thought when he started getting fan mail about his next album. Well, I'm not expecting any mail from anyone about any new album, but heck, Mike enjoyed writing that piece. Well, I'm out of here, so we'll do it again next week. Bye for now.
That's all for this week. We hope you enjoyed the show. Your feedback is more than welcome. Drop us a line at programs@gsnvancouverbc.ca or visit us at gsnvancouverbc.ca. We're back next week with another edition of the GSN Digest. Thanks for tuning in. So long for now.